Welcome to Call Me Didi, everyone. I'm your host, Diva.
And I'm your host, Sanchi, and let's get into today's episode. And of course, before we start our episode, we have to do highlight of the week. But I think Diva has a feeling of the week this time. So we'll hear about that.
I won't call it a highlight, so I just want to be very honest with how I'm feeling today and in the mood I'm recording this episode in. So we recorded our last episode yesterday where we talked about one of our reels going viral and a lot of people attending the event that we're hosting, and that's all very exciting.
Yes.
But with that reel going viral has come in like a lot of comments, and mostly positive with some sort of negative comments, which I mean, like, it's fine. Like, there have been some people who've been a bit racist, some people who've been a bit not pleasant because we're women, and that's fine. It's people are shit, like, you can't help that.
Yeah.
But I've realized that I'm a very private person and I don't really post reels or do social media on my own. So this has all felt a bit new and overwhelming to me. So I'm just feeling that since yesterday and just processing that as we speak today. But it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's okay.
It's not okay because I don't know, people can say whatever they want to say just because it's social media and they don't have to put a face to it, so they can literally say whatever they want. That's the reality of it. That happens.
And you know what? Like, when we reply back to them and just like reply to their comment, they go delete their comment.
Yeah, it's so funny.
They're so embarrassed. If you can't even own up to the shit you say, then why say it in the first place?
Yeah. It's just weird. Social media is really weird. But I think people are just insecure about themselves. If they don't have guts to come online and say things and do things for people, like they come shitting on other people.
Literally.
Yeah.
I think it's just them being insecure and projecting that onto other
For
people.
sure.
Okay, anyway, what was your highlight of the week?
Very interesting. So my highlight was, as you know, that I'm working on my journal.
Yeah.
And I'm on a very serious time crunch.
Very serious time crunch.
Yeah. And I was feeling very overwhelmed last week. And I remember just being in tears and just being so much like that I am on such time crunch and I don't know how will I manage that. But luckily, I had this really lovely woman message me on Instagram and she reached out to me. She was like, I really want to help you with this. And then I jumped on a call with her and it went really well. And she actually helped me do the journal and it ended up being so good. And I just felt like the universe had sent that for me and just literally saved me. And it made me feel like it will all work out. It's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that was my highlight.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
That's nice. How are you progressing with the journal?
It's done.
Oh,
Like, almost.
that's awesome. If you don't know, now you know. Sanchi is working on not a small business, it's going to be a 6-figure business. Launching on the 31st of October. And it's a journal brand. And if you've not known by now, Sanchi is very passionate about journaling. And there's a lot of love that she's put into this. So make sure to keep an eye out for it as well.
Aww.
Anyway, let's get into today's episode.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about how to deal with homesickness when you actually don't want to move back home.
And it's a very real feeling.
Do you still feel it after so many years here?
Like homesickness?
Yeah.
Yes, of course I do. Like, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
I have my family back home. Everyone is back home. I'm just here.
Yeah.
So of course I feel homesickness.
Yeah.
But I think like with time I've kind of accepted that
Yeah.
this is my home.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it and it's not that intense now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, same. I feel it still as well. And it comes and goes a lot for me. But I used to feel it a lot more in the first 2 years of being in Australia. Like, the first 2 years, I used to feel intense homesickness where I would cry and stuff about it as well. But now it's just this feeling that you get, oh, like, I miss home, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
So I think you get over it after a little bit, and then
Yeah.
it just becomes like this longing that you have for that feeling.
Yeah, that's true. I think both of us moved here when we were like 18.
Very young.
Very young. So that's too early, straight out of home and like into the world. It
Yeah.
was too much. I also felt very homesick at the start. I remember going back home after like first 4 months here.
Yeah.
And then I just could not. I had to book my tickets and go back home. It was a bit too much. But yeah, with time I learned.
Yeah.
With time you learn. It gets
Time
better.
It gets better. So if you're young and you've just moved, it gets better, guys. Feeling sort of passes, but that longing remains. But I've noticed something about you. I've noticed that you start feeling homesick. Like you'll be like, I'm really missing home after you haven't been home in, I want to say, like 8 to 10 months.
That is actually on point. It does happen to me. And whenever I feel like I'm homesick, I would not think twice. I would just book my tickets and I will go back home. I know like a lot of times you have work and you don't have leaves, but at that time I'm like it's okay. Like I'll try and manage here and there a bit, but I don't mind taking extra leaves or unpaid leaves even. I mean, I haven't taken unpaid leaves until now, but if I have to, I will. Like, I won't think twice about it because for me, I think life is literally about having love in your life and having relationships in your life. And sure, we have moved here for a good life, and like, sure, we have our dreams and goals, and everything is good. But family and love and relationships come first, and I would not mind sacrificing a little bit of my life here to go back and visit home if I have to. Like that's okay for me. So whenever I feel homesick, I will go back home, and yeah, it's good. But you know what? When I go back home and I'm fulfilled with my time back home,
Yeah.
like 2-3 weeks are there, and like I have the best time.
Yeah.
After that, I do feel like I think I'm good now. I think I'm ready to go back home,
Yeah.
and that happens.
Ready to go back home, meaning ready to come back here.
Come back here.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because it like whenever I go back to my home country,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I am at home. Like I'm with family, sure. I'm relaxed, great. I'm feeling so fulfilled and it's very heartwarming. Everything is good.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm on a holiday. Like I am on a holiday.
Which you are, sort of.
Which, see, that's the thing. I am on a holiday, but I'm not home. Like I'm on a holiday. My home is here for me. That's the feeling. And when I'm there, I feel like, okay, now it's like 3 weeks out of my home. And then I want to go back to my routine and to my own life. So it makes me feel like out of place. I do feel very out of place after.
Do you mean out of place in like society and when you talk to people, or is it just a feeling that you're not doing your routine or living the life that you normally do?
Both.
Really?
Yes.
So it's even a cultural thing then?
It is a cultural thing.
How? Like, give me some instances. When is it that you feel out of place?
In terms of mindset, because our initial years of our developing years were here in Australia, I think a lot of things and a lot of ways we have adapted how people live here, and back home it's very different. Like I feel like back in India, all people talk about is like marriage, or I don't know, just general very different mindset. And I can't think like that. Even if I try, I'm not able to think like that, and they can't think like me. They are not able to understand my ways of thinking, which is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Just makes me feel I don't belong, which is why some time is good for me when I go back home. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, good. After that, I start feeling like, okay, yeah, now it's getting a bit
Too much.
yeah, I want to go back. And it's very hard to process that because I don't know, it was a place where I was born,
Yeah.
and I still don't fit in. Like I feel like I don't fit in, maybe,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's very feeling.
That's interesting. Yeah. I actually don't relate to that.
Very interesting.
Like, I love going home. And yes, after, I want to say, not even 3-4 weeks, after 2 weeks, if I'm on holiday, then I'm like, Arey, what do I do with my time? You know, because I don't have a big group of friends there anymore. I don't have a regular thing that I do. I don't have the gym that I go to exercise to. Or there's like no routine. Like there is routine in the sense that you wake up. If I'm working from India, then I'm work, and then whatever, lunch, spend time with family. But there's a lot of things that you can do outside of that. So I do miss that, right? But I don't get that feeling of I don't belong here.
Very interesting.
Yeah, like I feel like I very much belong there because I feel like the people look like me, the people talk like me, the people that at least I'm surrounded by have somewhat similar mindsets as well. Like a lot of the friends that I have actually gone abroad and come back to India. Or even the family friends we have, they understand where I'm coming from. The conversations are very, I don't know, like I don't feel that so much. Obviously, sometimes you talk with people who are in a completely different place in life, and that's when you're like, okay, we're in two different spaces. But for the most part, I feel like I belong, and if I could find a routine then, if I had a big group of friends, and I would be fine.
Very
I
interesting.
wouldn't. Yeah, I'll be fine. Obviously, there's things like safety and all of that, which I never have to think about here, which I do have to think about there. For the most part, I don't feel like that.
Very interesting.
So, I want to know from you guys, whoever's listening to this, and if you are abroad, where on that scale do you sit? I feel like most people would relate to you after being here a few years.
I no, actually, you know what? I don't think so because I have met a lot of people who, like you, don't feel at home here even after so many years. There are lot of people like me as well. So I think it's a mixed bunch for sure. For sure. Like you, it's different for everyone, and nothing is wrong or right, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? When I was younger and I would talk to people and I would say that I feel this way, and they had a completely different point of view, I would feel like they would try and influence me that the way I feel is wrong.
Really.
In the sense that you've not overcome it yet, it happens with time, or like it'll just make me feel like the way I'm feeling is not right, right? But as I've grown up, I've realized that this is my feeling, this is how I feel, and there's nobody who gets to tell me if it's right or wrong. What works for you works for you, what works for me works for me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And yeah, that you're totally right. Like a lot of the times people back home don't really understand this feeling that I have, that I do not feel at like that I belong there.
Yeah.
And that I don't know why instantly I feel like I do belong here.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's just the way of life, lifestyle, mindset, a lot of different things.
of course.
Just feels like this is the place that's meant for me. And I totally get it that you are not able to understand that, but like that doesn't mean that I change my feelings because they're internal. You really can't change
You
them.
can't change it. So you're someone who does get homesick, but you don't want to move back home.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the homesickness?
I think how I really deal with it is having a really healthy balance in my life. Like, as I said, that I would go back home if I have to go back home after 5-6 months as well. Like, I don't mind that. And also, healthy balance in terms of my everyday life. I will FaceTime call them every single day or every other day at least. Have long calls with my mom. Like, I remember I will call her for hours and we would just talk. And sometimes when I just feel like the presence, I would call my mom and be like, oh, can you help me meditate? And she will literally be on call and help me meditate and help me sleep at night, and then she would just cut the call.
Yeah.
Or just my dad as well, like I would just call him, talk about every single thing. What are my expenses, how much I'm earning, like what is happening. He will help me invest, like every single discussion I will have with my family over call.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping that connection very healthy when you're here, but also going back home often, maybe not too long, but going back often. That really helps me, like finding your balance, what works for you, and then do that.
Don't starve yourself from
Yeah.
the presence of being with your family.
Yeah.
Like prioritize it, right?
Yeah.
Like some of us are so money conscious and why to take 2 trips back home, one is enough.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling it, you're feeling it. Now it's
Yeah.
okay. Like these are the things that in life are worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
People in your life, the love that you have in your life, if there's anything you should spend money on, is that. It's not that fancy car that you want.
Yeah.
Like keep this first is all I'm saying.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I deal with it in similar ways. Like for the past 2 years, my parents have visited me here. for a little bit of time, and then I've gone back and seen them. So even I've seen them but twice a year or so. But that feeling of longing is still there, especially once I go and then come back. I'm like, shit, now I have to wait a whole year to go back home again. But then when they come, then that feeling gets minimized. But yeah, it's about that balance. But also, I think the busier you are in life, the more occupied you keep yourself, the less time you have to think about other things. So I keep myself busy, and suddenly time goes by really fast, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like we're already at the end of August.
Yeah.
And, September, October, 4 more months till the end of the year.
Yeah, I think when you're busy in your life and you have so many things going on, you don't realize how fast time goes by, and then it's again time for your next trip.
Yeah. Also, like, knowing that there's a trip booked just makes you feel like, okay, I have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's going to come. It's coming for me.
Yeah. My dad always says that, when you just go back from here, you're like, oh, I just went back home. So it's 3-4 months will go by nicely. And then after 3-4 months, you start thinking about going back home, and then you start booking tickets, and then you're in the 2-month zone where you're planning and you're thinking what dates
Yeah.
to go, and then you have tickets booked, and then you look forward to it, and you have 3-4 months in that. So easily like 8 to 10 months go by, and then you have to go back home.
And then you have to go. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and tell us if you related to it and which one of us do you relate to more.
Yeah.
We'd love to know.
Yeah, and just if you feel like somebody else can relate to it, take a screenshot, send this episode to them. We would love for you to share our podcast with other people, because it helps us grow, and hopefully it helps somebody else as well feel more, I don't know, relatable at home, at
Yeah,
peace.
I think a lot of people will relate to this podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
For more such conversations, make sure to follow as well, and we'll see you in the next one.
See ya. Bye.